If this video is at all popular, it's gonna get some hate. I played Baba Is You for like 60 hours, maybe more, and I got like I think 200, maybe 180, or what? I don't know. I don't know the exact number of levels, but I beat most of the levels in the game. So that's my attitude towards the game. Is I played it a lot, and I didn't like cheat for any of the levels. I played some of the new ones, the 2 new level packs that he made, Hempuli made, the maker, and let's just get to it. So in Baba Is You, there are different aspects to each level. There's like the tiles, so like grass or Baba, like the actual sprite, if you will. That's part of the game. They're the squares that fill up the grid, and then there's the let's say rules. Rules. Rules are made from tiles, from the text tiles. Okay, so in most puzzle games, it's all about like let's say tile manipulation, if you will. You mess around with the environment. However, in Baba Is You also mess around with the rules. And I would say it's more focused on the rule aspect. Messing around with the rules is a bigger deal than messing around with the tiles, but obviously the tiles is part of it. You need to get Baba to the flag, and certain things will stop you. But it's mostly the rules. Okay. So there is an issue though, and I don't think it's in all the levels. It might be some, but it might be a lot of the levels actually. But this is kind of like what bothers me is in most puzzle games, you basically know what everything does. Okay? Like let's say in the puzzle games where it's you moving a block around the map, you know exactly how the block will move. You know when it won't move, and it's usually like, okay, well, there's some barriers and maybe other blocks in my way, and I got to figure out the right way to move the blocks against the barriers, etc. Move the blocks in respect to one another, and solve. That's how you solve the puzzle. But in Baba Is You, it's like sometimes you have no idea how the tiles will react. You make a new rule, and then it affects how the tiles act, but you have like no idea what's going to happen until you mess around with it. Sometimes you think nothing will happen, and so you end up spending a lot of time on a level going on a different track when really a change in rules had like a certain effect on a tile. And so basically what happens is you get to this point where you have to set the rules, they'll affect the tiles, and then you have to get the tiles to touch the other tiles, and you have no idea. You basically have to figure out how each tile reacts to each other tile under like a specific set of rules. So essentially what happens is you end up having different rule combinations that you have to experiment with. And what if I keep this rule on? What if I keep that and that rule on? What if I flip those rules? What if I only keep that one rule? And then for each of those rules, you have to experiment with all the tiles in a way. So then you basically got to do all these permutations Like, okay, how does this rule set affect this tile touching this tile? Okay, how about that tile and then that tile? Okay, and then if that doesn't work, you got to flip the rules around. And so that's really all it is it's just like this trial and error, and sometimes the tiles like might act in a way that you might not expect, because some of them are like position dependent. Like if one of the rules is pulling and you have to pull it in a certain position, it'll act differently. Like if there's a rock next to a wall and then Baba is next to the rock, like, and so it's not actually a puzzle at all. It's just you going through these combinations, and it's basically you just discovering edge cases. So in programming, that's like really weird things that when they like things that wouldn't usually interact, how would they interact? Like it's like you have a program that does math, and then you have to figure out what happens if you add letters using the program. Like instead of typing numbers, you add like A plus B. What will that do to your program that just adds numbers? And then you have to figure out, well, what if you add the letter A and a number? Anyway, so that's it's basically like, yeah, it's not good.